Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to look at what the iFIX scheduler is, what it is used for, and how to configure it. Finally, we will look at some examples of its application. Let's get started. What is the iFIX scheduler? The scheduler is an automation component that allows you to define, manage, and execute actions in the background without human intervention. Its operation is based on the constant monitoring of predefined triggers. To determine when a task starts, there are two main activation mechanisms. Time-based. Execution is periodic or scheduled. The system activates the task cyclically according to the configured interval, for example, every 5 minutes. Event-based. Execution is conditional on the change in value of tags. For example, the task is triggered upon detecting that a specific tag in our PDB changes from 0 to 1. Regardless of the type, when the trigger is activated, an associated script is executed. This code is fully customizable by the user to define the exact logic to be performed. Execution modes: foreground versus background. Once the logic is defined, we must decide where the task will be processed. To do this, the scheduler has two execution modes. It can run in the background or the foreground. Depending on our needs, we will choose one or the other. When we configure the scheduler to run in the foreground, its operation is completely tied to the state of the workspace. That is, it will only execute while the graphical environment is in run mode. If, for any reason, we stop the workspace, either to perform development tasks or because we close the application, the scheduler will stop functioning immediately until we reactivate the run mode. Conversely, if we opt for background execution, the process becomes independent of the graphical interface. In this scenario, the background server service comes into play, which becomes responsible for executing the scheduler instead of the workspace. This mode offers the great advantage of guaranteeing task continuity, as we can stop or close the workspace at any time without the scheduler stopping its work. It should be mentioned that to use this methodology, it is necessary to first activate the background server from the SCU, a procedure we will detail later. As a general rule, the most recommended option for a production environment is to run all schedules in the background to ensure their stability and uninterrupted operation. However, the foreground mode is extremely useful during the design and programming phase, as it is the only environment that allows us to debug the code and set breakpoints to verify the step-by-step operation. Tools that are not available when running in the background. What is it used for? The main objective is to automate routine tasks or logic within the system, freeing up the operator and the PLC from certain loads that are purely data management or visualization. For time-based tasks, some examples of use would be: generate a production report every day at 6 a.m., archive historical data every hour, reset production counters at the start of each shift, etc. In the case of event-based tasks, some examples of use would be: generate a communication alarm with the PLC, synchronize data with SQL. When the PLC sends a batch end signal, the scheduler captures the current data and saves it to our SQL database. Now that we have seen what the scheduler is and what it is used for, let's look at its configuration from the workspace. We are going to program two examples, one time-based and one event-based. Finally, we will see how to run the schedule in both modes, foreground and background. To access the scheduler section, we must go to the final part of the system tree. Right-click on the Schedules section and select the New Scheduler option. Now that we have created the first scheduler, we can see that it has the two sections we explained before, the time-based one and the event-based one. We could continue creating schedule instances, but for this video, we will continue only with the one we have already created. Let's rename the scheduler. To do this, right-click on it and select the Property Window option. In the Name field, I will change the name to Demonstration. Next, let's look at an example of a time-based task in the foreground. Our goal will be to increment a variable every 2 seconds. To create this entry, we can right-click on the table and select the Add New Timer Entry option. We can also create it by right-clicking on our schedule in the system tree and selecting the same option. When clicking, the configuration pop-up will appear. To start, we will name it Timer Test and give it a brief description. Next, we move on to the trigger part. Here we have different options. We can make it execute a single time. We can make it execute continuously, in which case, we must also define the interval between executions. We can also make it execute once daily or monthly. On the right side, we have the start time parameter, which defines the time from which this task begins to function. And below, we have the interval, applicable only when the trigger is configured as continuous, as we saw before. Since in our case we want it to execute continuously, and every 2 seconds, we will leave the trigger as continuous and the interval at 2 seconds. For now, we will not modify the start time. To program the event logic, we will click the Visual Basic Editor button. Here we are going to paste the code I had prepared, which simply increments the variable by 1 unit each time it runs. It is very important to note that the tags used within the scheduler script cannot be within any security area. Otherwise, the scheduler will not be able to perform operations with those tags and will get stuck. Sometimes the interval parameter bugs out and does not apply our change. To fully adjust it, the most robust solution is to change it again from the properties, as shown. I also take this opportunity to explain a parameter that may be useful, queue events, which serves to decide what to do if the event is triggered again while the previous script is still running. If it is set to false, if the system is busy executing the script, it ignores new activations. On the other hand, if it is set to true, the new activations are placed in a waiting queue and are executed one after another as soon as the current one finishes. Finally, let's save the changes. To do this, right-click on our schedule in the system tree and select the Save option. Once created, if we wish to modify it, we can do so from the table by clicking on our entry and selecting the Modify option. Or, from the system tree, we can open the properties, as we did before, or edit the script. Once everything is ready, let's switch to the Run mode of the workspace. As we can see, our task appears as active and executes every 2 seconds. From the last 3 columns, we can stop the task so that it never executes or reactivate it. We can also reset it or force its execution. To verify that the script actually works, I have added that variable to one of the screens to be able to visualize its value in real time. And as you can see, it increments every 2 seconds. Now that we have seen the example of a time-based task, let's look at the event-based case. Our goal will be to reset the variable we previously used as a counter to 0 when it reaches a value equal to or greater than 5 and a second digital tag is true. To do this, we will add another entry, but this time we will select the event-based option. Immediately, the configuration box will open. We will name it Event Test and give it a brief description. In the data source section, we will put the tags we want to use as a condition. But before moving on to this part, I will first explain the triggers section. The system offers different activation modalities based on the data source. We can configure the script to execute only once upon a value change, either any change or a specific transition to true or false. Alternatively, we can opt for a cyclical execution using the while true or while false options. For these 2 conditional modes, it is also necessary to define an interval, which will establish the repetition frequency of the script while the condition remains active. Returning to the data source, we will configure the expression to be true when the counter value is greater than or equal to 5. And this digital tag is true. The associated script is very simple. we simply set the counter to 0. Once we have it ready, let's save and switch to run mode. Now we have the digital variable set to true, so when the counter reaches 5 or more, it will reset. If we now disable the digital variable, the counter will not reset when it goes past 5. It will only do so when we reactivate the digital variable. Now all that remains is to test the scheduler in background mode. To switch it from foreground mode to background mode, from the system tree, we will right-click on our scheduler and select the Scheduler Properties option. The Properties box will automatically open. Here, we will change the setting to Run in the background by deselecting Run in foreground or selecting Run in background. Before switching the mode, it will ask if we wish to save the changes we have made. We will select Yes. It will also ask if we wish to add the document to the user preferences, to which we will click No. Since we have not yet started the background server, it will ask if we wish to start it, to which we will click Yes. If we now try to switch to run mode, we can observe how the scheduler is functioning. And if we close the workspace and monitor the tags from the PDB, we can observe how it continues to execute. If we activate the digital variable, the task associated with the event executes, resetting the counter. To ensure the scheduler in background mode works the next time we start our application, we need to add a task in the SCU so that the background server starts automatically. To do this, we will open the SCU for our application. In the Tasks section, we are going to add a new task, the one for starting the background server. We configure it to start in the background. Once it is ready, we save the SCU and restart the application. Back in the workspace, if we perform the same test as before, we can confirm that the scheduler is functioning correctly. And with that, we've come to the end. I hope you found it useful. Leaving a like and subscribing is the best way to support the channel, and it truly means a lot. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the next one.